Okay, now here we go. This is episode 16 of Public Trust Review, separating fact from fiction. And we are going to be starting off with an article that was, it's not an article actually, it's an opinion piece, an op-ed piece in the Mercury News today. And it was by council candidates, correct?
Yep.
All right, so we're going to start with, this is the article itself, and we highlighted areas that we're going to cover today, and we're going to kind of dissect it in detail. And we're going to go through this quickly so we can get through this in about 5 minutes. First item, Mayor Lisa Gilmore has been controlling Santa Clara politics for more than 20 years, and her poor leadership has left Santa Clara in a vulnerable position.
Which isn't true, because 2 years ago, she lost the council majority that she had before that. And the current council, including the voting bloc, are now in charge and have been for 2 years.
And I don't think she was elected until 2014 or 2015. So that's only been 6 or 7 years or 8 years or something like that. It hasn't been 20, that's for sure. And she hadn't been a leader and for a good chunk of those years, she was in the minority with Mahan and Matthews and Kolstad and Caserta and Marsali. All those guys were, commandeering the council. Okay, next item. To distract residents from her failures, she is running her campaign by misleading residents with misinformation on one single issue, the 49ers.
Yeah, and at the head of this article, above the title, it says misleading voters. And the question is, who's misleading the voters? There's probably as much misleading in this article as we've seen in any other thing.
And it's an opinion piece. This is
an opinion piece. But again, what's happening is that the opinion piece kind of blends together partial facts, no facts, pure opinion, and it's hard for the voters, I think, to separate out, well, what do I believe in and what don't I believe? What's the truth? What isn't? And we've been following this race very closely. And we have trouble even with some of this.
Absolutely. And this is once the measure passed, and this is measure J, this is the stadium. Gilmore supported irresponsible contracts that gave the 49ers far too much control over our city and stadium.
Yeah, and again, I think what's important is that the mayor is one vote, and that one vote has no more power than any other vote on the council.
And so, she was not on the council when this passed.
Right.
Just as a point of clarification.
But she was involved with Measure J.
Absolutely. She was a proponent for the stadium. She advocated for it, but she did not actually pass any of the contracts that were actually in place.
That's right.
The old guard, the prior Mahan, Matthews, Caserta, Kolstad, those folks passed it.
Yep.
How much power she surrendered to the team. She began with years-long personal feud with the 49ers.
Yeah, this was not a personal feud. If you go back and look, and you were at almost all of these meetings, Kirk, this was the mayor operating for the best interests of the public. It wasn't a personal feud.
It was about finances, transparency. It is absolutely true that the soccer park item triggered a lot of visibility into the issues and challenges that took place that I think started to get a microscope on this. Remember, she was in a minority when a lot of this stuff took place, with Matthews being the leader.
But they've been trying to frame it as a personal feud, without any grounding in what was actually going on in the city and in the voting with the 49ers.
And so this next time, Gilmore has spent millions of our taxpayer dollars fighting losing battles against the 49ers in court.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, the first time that this came up was about the rent for the stadium, and it was not a losing battle. The arbitrator sided with the city and said that not only were they not going to lower the rent against the 49ers, but they were going to raise it. And that was not a losing battle. And the other thing is, we don't know whether the battles were going to be losing or not, because this current council majority settled everything with the 49ers without any independent information.
No objective review, no legal reviews, no outside third party. And just for the record, this particular item that we just mentioned here about the rent reset, that was $180 million win for the city over the duration of their lease. They wanted to cut their rent in half or something like that. Next item. We fought for workers by terminating the 49ers management agreement until they rectified their practices.
Yeah, the council member Shahal and council member Hardy were part of the group that voted, were among the unanimous decision by the council then to remove the 49ers from their management of non-NFL events. So that's true that they voted with the other council members, including the mayor.
Yeah, led by Lisa Gilmore and the rest of the team. But ironically, the very challenges they put on that management agreement, the same council members that voted into support of it, Shahal and Hardy, and the current council majority voted to dismiss all those and settle the cases. The very thing that this was being that the lawsuits were being battled on. Next item, we challenged the 49ers financial accounting system. We challenged the 49ers financial accounting system and succeeded in implementing a transparent system.
Right, and that took, that, which is something to be applauded. That's great. That just went into effect this year, right? It doesn't address the previous 5 or 6 years where the city was not able to get the information that it needed to be able to judge whether the contracts were being kept.
And now they'll never be able to do that because they settled the lawsuit and there's no leverage. Mayor's music ban.
Yeah, it was never a music ban. It was consistent with the city's noise ordinance. All right, and it was framed as the mayor's music ban, and it was never a music ban.
And it's not only the mayor's thing. And mayor, again, as Councilmember Becker points out from time to time, the mayor has one vote, not all the votes, a vote. And it was, like you said, it was never a ban. It was, not going from 10 to 11. Next item, a recent civil grand jury report largely parroted Gilmore's misleading or false claims. Concerns, potential, may haves, possible are the words used in the report solely to cast doubt and fear.
Yeah, well, if you look at all of the campaign flyers that have been coming out from the independent expenditure committees, they are attempting to cast doubt and fear in the other direction. And the other thing about this is what the grand jury reported is the same thing that anyone could see if they watched any of the council meetings or looked at the council calendars. I came to the same conclusions myself weeks before the grand jury report, just based on what I saw from council meeting to council meeting.
And you wrote an editorial on that. You wrote an op-ed on that
op-ed.
Specifically.
Yep.
And what's ironic is if the grand jury parroted what Gilmore has been saying, then she must have been accurate because their investigation had a lot of those same conclusions. So I think it's ironic that they actually said that they parroted her comments if her comments are what they did an investigation on. But that's my opinion, not yours, Tom. I'm not putting words in your mouth.
Well, and people may think that somehow I talked to Lisa about this, and that's why I wrote my op-ed. I never talked to Lisa, at least not in 8 years.
And we haven't talked prior to starting this show. We might have talked casually, but I reached out to you just to let you know about comments that I made during public presentation about words that you had made in your comments publicly. And I referenced those when I did some research during public comment. Okay, next time, just a couple more left. In fact, we too are concerned about the amount the 49ers and related have spent in our elections through the independent expenditures.
Okay, one thing to note here is the amount that the 49ers have contributed is not equivalent to what Related has contributed. The 49ers, as we reported the other day, have spent just about $4 million.
I think it's up to 4.5. I think the latest reporting that two papers have reported now is $4.5 million.
$4.5. Yeah. I actually don't think
like
that's true, but because I just looked this afternoon to see if there was anything more than what we had reported. Or
we
anyway,
reported
that
4.1. We reported 4.1 million.
Right.
Others have reported 4.5. Regardless,
Yeah.
4 million versus 300,000. It's a 13x factor.
Yes.
13
and
times.
The council member Shahal has said a few times that he really doesn't want the 49ers to do this, and we give him credit for doing that. I haven't heard that from any of the other council members or
Nope.
the other candidates.
I haven't heard that from Hardy or Becker. In fact, all I've heard from either of them is it's free speech. They can do what they want. That's what I've heard. I haven't heard, or we need campaign finance reform, which is a much bigger issue. But I don't hear any denouncing of the misleading or lies that are being told on their behalf, or not for them, but about them. They're not condemning those or
Right.
in any way denouncing them.
Right.
Okay, the facts are clear.
Well, hopefully, from what we've been saying to everyone, the facts are not clear in this piece. The separating fact from fiction is difficult to do, and we have attempted to do some of it here.
And finally, it's time to put Santa Clarence first. Voters should pick facts over fear.
Right. And then that's up to the voters to decide who they are going to believe and who they're going to vote for. And it is their choice.
And we hope that this has been helpful to you. We appreciate you tuning in to episode 16. Take care.
Have an ethical day.